what a lad, and boy have I got a treat for you with this one. Today's guest has had what seems like one of the longest careers ever. He started way back in 2003 with the Wellington Lions before a call-up with the Hurricanes came not long after that. He then moved up to North Harbour in the Blues for a season before heading over to the UK, where he's widely regarded as one of the greatest Kiwi imports ever. This is where we saw him dominate for teams including the Newcastle Falcons, Leinster, and of course the Wasps. And he's won all sorts of accolades along the way. But that doesn't count for much unless you are a lad, and he is one of the greatest lads around. It is the great Jimmy Gopperth. Welcome, mate.
Mate, what an intro. Happy to be on, mate. Seen a lot of these podcasts. They're good fun, so happy to be along.
Mate, what a career. Unbelievable scenes. I remember watching you as a young fella. I was a big Hurricanes fan, watching you on the telly, and to see that you're still going and still going so strong, incredible achievement. Yeah,
I've been fortunate to still be able to play this game, especially playing in what is probably the hardest league in the world. It's relentless, the Premiership. To still be playing at the tender age of 20, it's going all right, mate.
Yeah, mate, like you say, like the competition over there is so hard. And a lot of guys say they sort of shorten their career when they go over there. But, mate, you've extended yours somehow, playing week in and week out, massive amounts of games, unreal.
Yeah, it's been, obviously, and moving from 10 to playing a lot at 12 these days as well, which it does not do the body any good, mate. It's just tackling, hitting rucks, chasing kicks. So it's definitely going to take a few years off me. But, just fortunate to, I suppose my body's been pretty good for me right throughout my career, and to be able to still play at the highest level is, I just don't want to go to a day job, so I'm hanging in there until the wheels fall off, pal.
Mate, that's it. Stay on it. Because you're coming up to 39, aren't you? So I think only Ben May is the only one I've had on who's playing and is a little bit older than you. So that's unreal achievement. But you mentioned your body feeling pretty good. Have you got any niggles, or are you still feeling like as fresh as you were when you were 24?
Yeah, no, I've got no niggles at the moment. I've only really had one major injury. That's when I done my ACL back in 2018. That was sort of my first ever proper sort of beyond sort of 3 months, 12 weeks injury, and that was a bit of an experience to go through. That sort of 9 months of playing, and then managed to get back early. And first game out there, playing Saracens, try and put a big hit in. First tackle, break my thumb. And keep going, play the rest of the game, because there's no way I was coming off. So it was like broken and dislocated. So I'm running around the pitch trying to like put it back in after every tackle, because you've been out for 9 months, man. You do not want to come off, because everyone will be like, oh, he's buggered again. And then that was lucky. I just about finished pre-season, and then sort of get back in, and first game back in pre-season against Saracens again, done my AC. So I had 3 in a row. But other than that, I've been pretty good for my career.
Is there any secret to having that and being so durable?
I don't know, mate. It's probably my days of on the farm, just drinking milk straight out of the cow's udder. It must have had some goodness in there, God knows what we're putting in our body off the farm. But yeah, I think just having a balanced life. Surfing's been a big passion of mine right for as a young kid. So I think that's probably brought real good stability to my joints, especially sort of my upper body with paddling and stuff like that. So who knows? I think it's probably got to just do something with it, because you see a lot of the young kids now and they just break all the time. Yeah. But I think we play a lot of rugby, and especially up here, a lot of young kids don't play as much as we would back home because of the squad sizes and different sort of competitions. So, durability helps by just playing loads and loads of rugby.
Mate, surfing and milk straight from the teat. Love that. All the kids will be doing that.
Happy days.
And I read an article that you had retired from Wasps not that long ago. I thought this was going to be the big announcement. Jimmy Gopperth's going to retire from rugby, but you haven't. Is it true that you've signed with Leinster, or is this nothing yet?
I have signed for another club, but it's not official. But I've signed, I've signed a 1+1 deal. So if I go through the two, I'll be still playing I'll finish when I'm 41.
Wow.
Which would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So what brought about the move? Like, obviously you're a Wasps legend. You've played plenty of games for Wasps. Everyone loves you there. And what brought about the move here?
Look, it was obviously I was off contract coming into the season, and obviously people knew. And then teams just started showing a bit of interest, and it's really weird over here at the moment because all the salary caps are dropping in size.
Yeah.
So they've been cut. I don't know the exact figures, but it might have been like 7.5 million per team last season. Now it's down to like 5.5. So a lot of teams are trying to deal with, trying to bring all their squad together with certain amounts of money. And yeah, I just went to Wasps because I had an offer on the table, and I just went to them and told them I had an offer on the table, and the ball's in your court, but they weren't able to do anything when this other team wanted to move pretty quickly. So at 38 years old, I wasn't going to hang around. I had an opportunity, so I took it.
Mate, how good's that? The offers are just rolling in at 38 years old. Mate, you're on fire.
Yeah, it's not too bad, eh?
Was it hard to leave that club, though, Wasps?
Yeah, it will be. Obviously, I've played here for 7 seasons now, 7 years. I think, I've got on 149 games, so I've got one more for the big 150, and done a shitload and been in 2 finals with them, and done seen the team progress pretty quickly throughout the years, and been a part of that. So of course it's always hard when you leave a club that you've put so much into, but hopefully I've left it with a few good memories, and as long as people sort of know I've contributed as much as I can while I'm here, then I'll leave with happy thoughts and memories.
No doubt. And was there ever a thought of you coming back to New Zealand and giving it one more crack here? That question came in so much from many Taranaki fans, Coastal fans, Wellington Lion fans, Hurricane fans. They all want to see you back here at some point. Did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, a little. My agents did ask me if I wanted to come home, and it was in my thoughts to sort of come and try it back out and see how it goes. And yeah, it's just one of those things that this offer came in pretty quickly, so I didn't really have time to sort of look into too much. And who knows, mate? I might come back as a 40-year-old and still try and mix it with the young kids. And I've been told by lots of the coastal lads back at home I have to save a couple games in the legs to roll on the green and white, mate, and down on the coast. And it'd be cool, man, if I could come back and still be able to play, and then like even play for the Naki would be unreal. But yeah, we'll see what happens when I finish up here.
Mate, that would be unreal to see you back here, 41 years old. Maybe Ben, mate, at prop, 42 years old. You guys just locking it down for Taranaki.
That'd be unreal, mate. Might have to only train about 2 days a week, but we'll be all right.
Mate, they'll let you away with it, surely. Easy. But while we're on New Zealand, I know you are a proud Taranaki man, so pretty keen to hear what it was like for you growing up there.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Obviously down the small little town of Pihama, just outside of Opunaki, right on the beach. So dairy farm. So we just had the beach right there, the farm. So just always just outdoors, cruising around, fishing, eeling, surfing. You name it, we did it. And then obviously went up to New Plymouth Boys boarding school up there for 5 years. Created some awesome memories up there. Had some great mates. The rugby, went up there for the rugby really, just to try and see how far I could go, and managed to sort of kick on from there from the Naki, and had the opportunity to go down to Wellington straight out of school, which was obviously the stepping stone to my career. But yeah, the childhood just coming up, mate. It's one of those ones now. I look back and I'm with my kids. It's something we'll probably look at because it is special, man. It's such a special place to grow up.
So you mentioned you moved to New Plymouth Boys for rugby. When did you think that rugby was potentially a pathway for you?
I think all Kiwis just have that dream, don't they, of becoming a professional rugby player, becoming an All Black, and I think I was fortunate enough, like just during primary school, all my best mates were sort of a year older than me, so they all went off to high school. So, and I was still at primary school, but I would go and play for their high school team, Opanaki High. I'd go and play for them, and I sort of, got told I sort of had I was not too bad at rugby, so the best next thing is my whole family went to Francis Douglas, but then they weren't that great at rugby, and New Plymouth Boys were, so I thought that was the best next step to try and make something out of it, could put myself in a good school and go from there.
And they've got one of the best grounds ever in rugby, I reckon, one of the coolest grounds to play at. What was it like playing at the Gully?
Mate, it's unreal, eh? It's, you have 1,200 boys watching you on one side doing the haka, and all the other family friends and that on the other, and you just don't get that kind of atmosphere and anywhere really. And to have it in school was such a privilege. And some of those college matches you play, and mate, the boys are like crying and stuff before games. Like you just they get so amped up, and it means so much. And we used to just before you run down the gully, there's a bell tower, and we used to all get up there and huddle up and say, who are we, Boys High, and just rack it up and get louder and louder, and then sprint down the hill, and all the boarders would be lined up doing the haka. So you go through one haka, then you do your haka, then the school's doing a haka. It's just mental. It's I try and tell people over here like what school rugby's like, and they don't understand it, mate. Like, it's special.
Mate, that is such a pump up. Did you ever find it hard getting yourself up, not playing at the Gully?
It was different. It was definitely different. Especially some of the early days, because some of the other schools around us weren't that great, and so we ended up playing senior thirds in the Taranaki rugby comp, and like senior thirds, mate, it's like all the sort of senior first guys, like all the guys like 35, 30, just there for a drink. And no shit, the first 20 minutes is the hardest game of rugby you'll ever play. They're just out there and kick the shit out of you, because like you're little kids, like they just kick the shit out of you, and then but after 30 minutes they're so tired you just run around them and just score all the tries. But that was it was always daunting, mate. Like turning up to some grounds and sort of seeing all these guys, massive old guys, and having a beer before some of them even before they play. Like it's pretty daunting, but no, it was some fun times, man.
Mate, it's good times. And then you mentioned you moved down to Wellington. Was there ever an opportunity for you to stay with Taranaki? Was that ever the goal, or did this Wellington opportunity just come out of nowhere?
It was. Obviously, growing up, I always wanted to play for the Naki. Went to watch them all the time. In my last year of school, they did talk about trying to get me into the team that year to play, but there was a bit of like, nah, he's too young sort of thing going on. So, which I was mad keen for, obviously, to play in the NPC and still at school. But yeah, they thought I was a bit too young, so I just stayed playing high school rugby, and then obviously did pretty well at with the Hurricane schools and New Zealand schools, and Wellington came pretty quickly and said, look, come join our academy. And when the Wellington team had, the superstars they had, I thought, wow, it's a great opportunity for me to go and learn from. And it worked out pretty well. Yeah,
for sure. And then what was it like going into that environment? You mentioned it, you got the guys like Cullen and all these legends of the game. You're rocking up there as a 19, 20-year-old, having to boss these guys around.
It was nuts, mate. Like, in my last year of school, like, we were like in the boarding school. So I was a head prefect of one of the sort of boarding schools. And every year at the start of school, you bring the young kids in, like the third formers, and sort of just give them orientation, like get them used to the place before the school starts and before all the boarders come back in. I remember we were down sort of towards Auckland Beach and just for an afternoon, and the young kids were out on the beach playing, and a few of us sitting in the van listening to New Zealand Sevens playing at Wellington. Yeah. And I think Cully was playing, Lomu was playing, a few of these guys were all playing, and we were just like, and then at the end of that year, the next year, I'm walking to the changing room, and there they all are, like just sitting there. I was just like, oh my God, this is nuts. You had Jonah there with his big Skyline car, this massive sound system, and I was just like, turn up with my little Ford Telstar, like thinking what's going on. But they were awesome. Obviously, Dave Holwell and Spicy were there, and they sort of looked after us young guys, and it sort of showed us the ropes and help me personally learn so much.
Yeah, because it looked like a pretty intimidating backline to be in control of and to be trying to boss around, but you seem to love it.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like, obviously, I think it was a few weeks in, and Tana came up to me and just said, look, mate, you're a 10, just boss us around. And sort of when you get the okay from the legend, then, you sort of relax and you get a bit of confidence and then sort of went on from there. So, and that's obviously 10. You have to be bossing the boys around and be pretty vocal, and so that was pretty cool for a guy like that to give me a bit of advice, and sort of cracked on and really enjoyed playing with some of those guys.
Mate, and absolutely killed it. And one story I do want to know about is a bus trip back from Waikato. Apparently, this is one of the greats.
Oh shit! So. We always used to obviously fly to all the games, and it was pretty early on, 03. We played in Waikato, had a good win, and obviously there's quite a few of us new guys then, so like myself, Piti Wepu, Napier, Tialata, all these guys were sort of first years, so obviously you have an initiation, have a bit of a jug skull, and go out, have an awesome night, and we ended up having an awesome night, got absolutely shit-faced. And then we were leaving pretty early in the morning. I think it was like our flight was pretty early, and I just remember feeling I'm pretty ropey, but I was just hanging in there. So we got through the flight, sweet as, and we'd always park our cars down at the stadium, and then get shuttles from the stadium down to from the airport down to the stadium. And I don't know how I managed it, but I got myself into the shuttle with it was. In the front row, I think it was Spicy, me, Dave Holwell, Cully. I think Tana was in there. I even think John Plumtree and bloody Chris Boyd were in there, the coaches. And this, the ride from airport to the stadium it's not that far.
Yeah.
And I just remember just like, when you start getting the sweats, I was like, just like hanging in there. I remember, I think Spicy might have turned to me and he goes, mate, you're all right. And I was like, obviously I'm young I'm just like, yep. And we got down, I think it was maybe Taranaki Street and then the corner of like Dixon Street, like pretty much, like where Les Mills is, like literally in the middle of town on an early Sunday morning. It must have been about 11 o'clock Sunday morning. And the lights went red and I remember just going, nah. Fuck, I'm dust. Opening the door, just like going over top of, I think it might have been Cully, and just power chucking over on the fucking ground, and like all like the legends are in the group, and just shut the door and just sat there like that. I was shitting myself. I thought I was going to get sacked because the coaches are in there, everyone's in there, and I was just like, what have you just done? And it was obviously Jason Spice, pretty funny dude. He was cracking up. And mate, I just don't really know what happened other than that because I just went into shutdown. Like I was just head down, didn't say a thing. I was just like, I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed.
You just blanked out, never spoke about it again.
No, I was like, nah, that can't be happening. Like, it's one of my first games and like initiations. And I was like, fuck, never again. Like,
oh, that's so good. What a
mad,
yarn.
mate.
And then your call up to the Hurricanes came not long after that. How did you find that whole experience?
Yeah, that was awesome, mate. Obviously played 2003, 2004 for the Lions, and never started the game. Just always came off the bench, which I reckon was awesome. Like, I just learned so much by doing that.
Yeah.
Then got the call up to 05 when Dave Holwell went off to... he went to Leinster, actually, I think. So Ricky Flutie was there. He was going to be number one for the Canes. I was obviously going to back him up. And then pre-season, Flutes got injured. Can't remember what he'd done, but he was out for a bit. So Colin Cooper was like, look, you're starting first game. At the Ballymore, playing the Reds. And it was nuts, mate. And it was a real tough week for me as well, because my granddad, Bernie Fleming, which loads of the coastal people will know, passed away.
Yeah.
And he was just massive, big influence in sort of my life. And so I was a bit like, oh shit, I've had this opportunity. Do I go home? And then it was pretty cool. My nana rang me up and said, there's absolutely no way you're coming home. Like, you're playing. And then from there, I I had a blinding start, to be honest. Like, it was pretty surreal the way I started my super career, and just never looked back and held on to that jersey the whole year.
Were you confident going into that first game, or was it only after that game where you really grew your confidence?
I think I was confident. I was a confident young kid, and to have the likes of Tana, around me and his leadership, it just made it so much easier for me just to do my job. And I had the back row. You look at the back row. You had Jerry Collins and Rodney Suialo, Chris Marsoe, guys like that. Like, I could offload anything around them, so I didn't have to worry too much. And I loved defence. Like, I'd always get stuck in and rip in and that sort of part. So they gave me the confidence just to go out and play my game. And I hung this little shit and took heaps of line breaks, scored heaps of tries, and had a hell of a year.
What made Tana's leadership so special?
He just knew what to say and when to say it, and it was always what he said was just the right thing. And he didn't speak overly too much, but there was just times like he just knew the group of players around him. So there's times during training when things weren't going right, and just looks at the coaches and sort of says, look, stop banging a drum here, like, just cut it, or we need to do X, Y, and Z. And he just led by example, and just sort of always gave, as I said before, gave everyone around him confidence to play their game, because you knew he was going to be on fire himself. So he was an outstanding leader, and I think him and Rodney Suialo was also just an outstanding leader within that group. And they sort of combined really, really well together, and especially for us young guys, it was two brilliant guys to follow.
Legends of the game, eh? And then one thing that everyone in New Zealand knows you for is wearing the gloves. You've still got the reputation as a glove wearer here in New Zealand, going from the questions. What made you decide to wear the gloves, and where have they gone?
Oh, mate, the gloves. Boys still over here asked me to bring them back. They want me to bring them back, mate. I don't know. I think it was an in thing, wasn't it? It just started coming in. I think George Smith used them, over in Australia, and then a few boys just started using them. And it was like, obviously you play in the rain, and it just helped with a little bit of grip. And so I thought, why not give them a crack? And they sort of stayed around for a while, and then I seen, all the boys over here talk about, I still play rugby 08, and you've got this goatee and you got the gloves on, and like, all these things, and so it's pretty funny. Pretty funny way to be known by the glove man. So.
When did you decide to can them?
I don't think I can bring them back, mate.
Why did you can them?
I don't know, actually. I don't know why I canned them. If maybe I was getting a bit too much shit for them, I'm not too sure. So Yeah, but they sort of, I don't know when I left them either. So it might have been around. So I might have only had them for a year or so. I definitely had them in '05. But '06, I don't think I had too much of them. So it might have just been a sort of the old one hit wonder.
Yeah, and you just got tarred with this reputation of being the glove wearer your whole life.
I know, mate. Dull, isn't it?
So good. And then,
fun.
yeah, and then one moment that stands out from your Hurricanes career was that Fog final down there in Christchurch against the Crusaders. What do you remember about that one?
Yeah, look, obviously we had a pretty awesome semi-final, and I was pretty lucky to come on and get the old match-winning penalty
That's right.
to get to the final. And then when we were down there, it was like, just before, like that whole week, man, we were feeling really, really confident. Like we really knew our game. We knew how we wanted to play. Even the warm-up, started the warm-up, awesome. Went back inside, came back out, and we were like, what the hell is going on here? Like, you couldn't see shit.
Yeah.
And it just put a real dampener on the whole game. And, just from the start, like, fans were leaving to try and watch it at home when it was worse on TV.
Yeah.
You had commentators running up and down the sideline, like commentating on the game. It was carnage, mate. And it was still a really tight game. And obviously that one try from Casey Lalala sort of just broke it open. But yeah, we honestly really believe that was our time. But then obviously you give Crusaders a shot and they take it. So obviously it's a final you'll never forget. But to come so close as an opportunity to try and win it, it's pretty gutting.
And how was it for a 10 playing in a game where you could hardly see? You obviously couldn't see the backfield or anything like that when you're kicking. The game control, the game management must have been tough.
Mate, high balls were crazy. And there's some clips I've seen of me getting a few shots at goal. And you can barely see the post. Like it was just out of, like, I've never experienced like anything ever.
Yeah.
You had to really focus on what you were doing, and it was two good teams going to head to head, but it did ruin the game a bit because there was a lot of kicking because you were trying to test the other team because they couldn't just see if they can see the ball and try and get a mistake. And so I think if the fog wasn't there, I still believe it would have been one hell of a final, like a really, really good final. But in saying that, it was a different type of final, and the people that got to see a little bit probably agree that it was a good game of footy.
For sure. So then, what brought about the move up to Auckland and the Blues and North Harbour? So you're playing well for the Canes, you'd got them to a final, and why the move?
Look, I just wanted something a little different. When you're with the Wellington and the Hurricanes, you are at the same place the whole time.
Yeah.
So I just thought it's trying something different. Went up to North Harbour, really enjoyed myself. Like we played some good footy and managed to get in the Blues. Enjoyed that as well. Different environment, different players, and at sort of the end of that year, it's sort of an opportunity just came up to have a look overseas and then sort of went on from there.
Had you had any feedback from the All Black coaches throughout any of this time?
There was a little bit every now and then. There was times I met a few of them and went into things like that. But there was loads of us around that sort of time myself. Obviously DC was still playing, Mertz was still playing when we were there, and
Sure.
Stevie Donald and Luke McAllister, Nick Evans was still there for a bit. So there was loads and loads of guys. Like I think it was '05, we all had the All Black trial. And sort of made the juniors off the back of that, and so I sort of knew I was sort of in and around it, but it was just you never know until you hear your name, and you still got to play well. And I know I had a few inconsistent games around sort of '06, '07, and that was just learning, and so it made me a better player in the long run. But unfortunately, I looked to go overseas before I could see what happens.
Yeah, so that's a big question that everyone wants to know around you is why that move so young. So you're only, 25, which was pretty young these days, those days to be moving overseas and heading over to the UK. So what was the big deciding factor to head over there?
Well, I just had, my daughter was only like 9 months, so I had a young family, and, it was sort of, that sort of backlog in the All Blacks was still pretty solid. You knew DC wasn't going anywhere for a long time. Stevie Donald was getting a little bit of a look in at that stage. So I just thought, why not? Why not have an opportunity to go over and experience a different side of the world? And, if it's just go over for a couple of years and then come back and get that experience and then come back. And that was sort of the first plan. But here I'm still sitting here playing. So that didn't eventuate to come back to New Zealand. But yeah, it was an opportunity to go over and sort of just see the different side of the world and explore.
Did you think your style of footy would suit the UK style, or was that just purely coincidence that happened?
I didn't really know, to be honest. Obviously, I was lucky because I had a couple mates over here, in Newcastle playing. So obviously, Carl Heyman was there, Tane Tuipulotu, which I played with at Hurricanes and Lions, was here. Yeah. So I got to talk to them a lot, and they sort of explained what it was like. And when I was going there, I was like, well, it's probably not my style, but that's what I wanted. I wanted a challenge, and I wanted to see if I can broaden my game. Because I did have thoughts about coming back to New Zealand, so I was like, I'll go and broaden my whole game, and hopefully I can come back a better player and a better person to push. And but got over there and found out pretty quickly I had to adapt my game. Pretty smart.
Which you did, and you did it quicker than most. I mean, a lot of guys who go over there it takes 2 or 3 years for them to sort of get used to the style over there and the complete different way they manage their game, especially as a 10. But, mate, you seem to make a seamless transition, and right from the get-go, you were kicking goals and winning games.
I was very lucky I had Carl Heyman in the front row that was just getting me all the penalties, and I was just kicking the points. That was how it was working. But, it was very much a sort of territory game. I had to really sort of learn. It was all about keeping the ball in front of your forwards and keeping the pressure on them. There was time. I remember times there was like a scrum, like just like probably 30 meters into our own half, like just on the 40, and I'd look over at me and Tane would be like, "Let's go," and all the other boys are looking at us like, "What do you mean, let's go? Like, kick it in the corner." And we're like, "Nah, bro, we're going. Like, let's do this." So it was a bit of a learning curve because I was always I love running with the ball. Yeah. So there was a few occasions where I'd just take off and run, but obviously the defences were not expecting that either. So it sort of worked in my favour a little bit. And obviously Tane was always on my back. He knew what was up. But yeah, you had to adapt your game pretty quickly. And fortunately, the whole game's changed now over here, which was pretty cool.
And you were replacing Jonny Wilkinson, is that right? Was there any extra pressure around that?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because obviously everyone knew Johnny Wilkinson, World Cup winner with the famous drop goal, and played for Newcastle for years. So he was like the favourite son of Newcastle. So there was a little bit of pressure, and I remember my first game didn't go I played it right, but I missed quite a few kicks. We played away, and the weirdest one I probably missed because what it's like over here. You go for a shot at goal and it's deathly silent, like no one speaks. And I remember my first few games, I'm like looking around going, what is going on? Like, make some noise, man. Like, you go to Waikato Stadium. I remember Possum and the cherry picker, fucking with his chainsaw, like with the cowbells. Like, that's what I was used to. Yeah. And now I was over there just deathly silent. So after that first game, it was a bit like, oh, he's never going to be able to replace him. But fortunately, I got used to it pretty quickly, and made amends for those couple early misses.
Yeah, and ended up being the top point scorer, was it that year?
Yeah, I fortunately got that a couple of years in a row, and
Yeah.
as I say, it was on the back of some pretty good work from Carl and the boys up front. To be honest, we weren't scoring a hell of a lot of tries. We were just kicking threes left, right, and centre. With we're sort of low table team. You know, I think the highest I ever, my first year, I think we finished like 8th or something like that. Then it was always just battling for relegation, like finishing 11th. So I had to take the points, to be honest.
Yeah. And how did you find the relegation battles? I know it's gone now, but what was it like as a player having to fight for your life for a lot of your seasons?
Mate, it's tough, eh? It's really tough. Like, you know, people are fighting for contracts. It's not just, because obviously you drop down to the championship, and it's, some guys get let go. And I'll never forget one year we were playing Bath away, and Worcester were playing, I can't remember who they were playing, but they were playing at their place. So it was a battle between us and Worcester to see who stays up. And our game their game for some reason, because everyone plays on the last day. Everyone plays 3 o'clock Saturday, every game, same time. So everyone knows what's going on. And we played Bath, and our game had finished, and we lost. And I think we might have been like if Worcester had won, would go down by a point or something like that. And everyone's like, the Worcester game's not finished. And we're like, what do you mean? It's like there was an injury or something, delay, and they're hammering on the line. Like, they're picking going on the line to win the game. And it was surreal, mate. Like, we were all in a huddle on the rec at Bath, and there were guys crying. There were guys that couldn't listen. Like, the coach was in there with the phone, like, listening to the commentary. And boys were like, have I got a job next year? Like, are we in the championship? Are we in the premiership? And all we remember is it was like, they're over. Oh no, wait. The ball's been stripped. And like, we just went, like, it was crazy, mate. We just went mental and managed to stay up by the skin of our teeth. But I don't wish that on any. Obviously, the fans love it. Like, the drama's nuts, mate. But as a player, man, I don't wish that upon anybody. Like, it's pretty tough to take.
Yeah, 100%. So you're glad that they've scrapped it?
In a way, yeah. It's definitely opening the game up over here. A lot of teams are really playing. And people say, well, there's some teams that haven't got much to play for, but there's still a lot, because obviously we've got European rugby as well. So you've got to finish. I think they changed it now, so you've got to finish on top 8 to make it through to Europe. So that's a big sort of ploy as well to keep the teams interested. But we are seeing some young kids come through. We're seeing a lot more tries, high-scoring games. So I think it's helping in the style of game for sure. But I think every fan just wants that drama.
For sure, yeah. As a fan, I think the relegation's obviously awesome. But as a player, one who has experienced it as well, it's not a nice feeling having to go down to the championship. You never played in the championship, did you? Or did you?
Yeah, mate. 2000, my last year of the Falcons before I went to Leinster.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that was another crazy one. Oh, mate, it's it's like playing club rugby.
Yeah.
Like, you go to some dark places. Like, we played. It was the year that Leeds's pitch at Headingley was infested with some kind of, I don't know, bug. So they couldn't play there. So we played at Otley. Now, Otley, a lot of older people will know, Otley is like famous. Like, the All Blacks played there in God knows how long ago. And I think they got beat on this field anyway. But we were playing at Otley and playing Leeds. And the weather was all right. Like, it wasn't too bad. We kicked off. Literally score. Like, we were winning every game by 50 points. And we kick off, score a try. It's like, sweet. And then the heavens opened. And no shit, within 30 minutes, you couldn't tell who was who. And there was one stage when one of our guys tackled our own player around the ruck because he didn't know who was who. Like, it was proper, like, just old school rugby. And I think we ended up winning like 2 points. It might have been like 10-9 or something. It was nuts. We were all having like photos and stuff after the game because we just thought it was hilarious. Like, but yeah, you go to some dark places.
What game was harder, that one or the Fog final?
That one for sure, mate. You couldn't run. It was like playing on a potato field, man. You couldn't run. You couldn't do anything.
So you got them promoted again, and is this when you decided to fill in for another legend, Johnny Sexton, over at Leinster?
Yeah, mate. It was Joe Schmidt was obviously the coach of Leinster, and we caught up. The Olympics were on in London, and we caught up because one of his family members I think he was the goalkeeper of the All Whites, and they were playing in Newcastle against Brazil. So we caught up, and he was like, "Look, what are you doing and next year?" And all I said, "Well, look, I've got out clauses in my contract, but yeah, I'm just happy to see what happens." And he was like, "Well, if I go anywhere or anything happens, I'll be keen to take you with me." And then get a phone call again. Johnny Sexton's leaving to Racing Metro. Would you be interested to come over? And I was like, what, to the European champions? Yep, see ya. Sign that. Like, gone. I was like, you don't turn that down. And then it was like 3 weeks later, he rang me and goes, I'm not going to be your coach because I've just signed for Ireland. I'm going to be the Irish head coach. But don't worry, the new coach who's coming in wants you anyway. So fortunately, Matt O'Connor came in and he still wanted me. So I was a bit sketchy there for a while, but yeah, that was awesome, mate, over at Leinster. What an outfit. The European, multiple European champions for a reason. Just a great environment to be involved with, and Dublin's one hell of a city.
So what makes the environment so good?
Just their professionalism. They're all winners. They all striving to win, and they know how to win. And it's sort of the young stock coming through. It's literally probably the same as New Zealand. The young stock coming through is just really, really good. They come through some very big schools over there, and just sort of it's like this conveyor belt, and they just go through and. It seems all the decent players went to Leinster, and then sort of Leinster and Munster were the two big teams, and so they just always knew how to win. And my first year we won the Pro 14, which was pretty cool.
And how did all the cultures compare from the Hurricanes, Blues, Newcastle to Leinster? How are they all different?
Like, obviously, every culture is different, but sort of majority is everyone loves rugby, so that will never change wherever you go. Obviously, New Zealand's really about family and being tight together as a brotherhood, and it's you do a lot together off the field. Newcastle was pretty tight. We had a group of foreigners. Loads of Kiwis, to be honest. And Newcastle was one of our funnest times. Like, if my missus said, we're going to live in Newcastle for the rest of our lives, she probably would, because it was awesome up there. Like, the rugby was average, but you had the sea there, so you still got to do surfing. Awesome nightlife. The people up there are just like awesome, mate. They're real good fun. So that we really enjoyed ourselves there. Leinster was a real work hard, play hard place. Like, hardly any of them then when I was there had kids. It was all like, rugby's first, and then when you hit 30, that's when you decide, I should start settling down. Like, that was their sort of motto. So they were devoted to rugby, and then had some pretty good parties, and obviously the nightlife out there. So, but that was the changing of times. I think now it's a lot different over there. But that's why they were so determined to win. They were so dedicated. And then Wasps is pretty much similar to everywhere, all mixed in one. You got young families and and then sort of people sort of scattered all around the place because obviously it's a new sort of club. It used to be down in London. Now we're up sort of around Coventry and Leamington Spa, around this sort of villages. So people sort of scattered all around, but still socialise pretty well together. So, any rugby team, you walk into it, within 2 weeks you've got 50 mates. So it's pretty special environments to be a part of a professional rugby group.
It's the coolest thing about the game, eh? So then why the move to the Wasps from Leinster, the powerhouse of European rugby?
So pretty much I knew I only had 2 years because Johnny Sexton was only going for 2 years. And then he was coming back. And look, they asked, they wanted me to stay, but I was like, there's no point. Like, I want to play. And then Wasps came to me, and I really liked the style that Wasps played. It was probably the closest you get to Super Rugby. So that excited me to join Dai Young and his team. And sort of came over and loved it from day one.
And was that when you started to make more of a move into the midfield, playing more 12?
Yeah, so my first year over here, when did I come over? So 2015, 16 season, played all at 10 here. It was a pretty good season, made a couple of semi-finals in Europe and the Premiership. And then the next season, Danny Cipriani side signed for Wasps. Yeah. I used to be a Wasp. He was like the homecoming of Danny Cipriani, and so I seen it as a challenge. I was like, yeah, sweet, like let's go. I'll try and rival him from the shirt. And then we had a couple injuries in the midfield, and then the coach was like, look, do you want to play 12 for the first game and just see how that goes with two playmakers, because we really want to spin the ball wide, and I think two playmakers can work. And I was like, yeah, no, why not? Let's go. And we actually created a pretty awesome partnership and scored some pretty outrageous tries and had a brilliant season, which was really, really enjoyable to be a part of, and had one hell of a backline in that sort of time. And so it sort of just progressed because of opportunities to play 12 and then sort of never look back, really.
What was Danny Cipriani like to play outside? Because obviously my brother played with him at Gloucester, and he rated him as the best ball player he ever played with. He played with some legends at the Crusaders and the Chiefs as well, but he rates Danny Cipriani as the best out of them all. How was he for you?
Yeah, mate, his decision-making on the ball at the line is second to none. He'll put people in space. He'll create opportunities just by how he sort of reads the game and his sort of passing techniques. So he is, one of, if not the best ball players at the line in the game, to be honest. It's puzzling why, it's probably different reasons why he hasn't had more international caps that we probably won't go into, but his ball play at the line is pretty phenomenal.
But you kept the goal kicking duties, didn't you? And mate, something that you have been consistently good at is kicking your goals.
Yeah, look, I've always loved it. Always loved goal kicking and sort of had a thing for it. And so right throughout my young years to now, it's been a big part of my career. And obviously now with, the old Spippkin Tee is now the Jimmy G Tee, which is pretty cool. So there's a bit of history behind what I do, and I just really enjoy that pressure.
And you mentioned pressure. You've already mentioned it already, that your clutch kick to win the semi-final for the Canes. But throughout your career, you've had so many match-winning kicks that you've stood up and nailed. So have you stayed so calm under that pressure?
Yeah, I think the key to be a successful goal kicker is just trusting your process and to be able to get into a zone. And I use a lot of visualization, like now, because the amount I've played, I don't kick a hell of a lot during the week. I probably kick maybe twice a week, and that would only be 6 kicks or something a session.
True. Yeah.
I do most of my training at night time, and before I go to bed, I visualize right down from putting the ball on the tee to my run up to what I do. I visualize the kick, do 3 or 4 kicks a night. And like, for example, if I was playing London Irish this week, I know their stadium, so I've got it in my head, and I can picture the kick, I can picture the stadium, and it just allows me to, when I get to a game, just to be already put the ball on the tee, I look up and I can already see it going through, and it just gives me the confidence just to relax and just do my thing. And I think that's really helped me throughout my career, is that visualization and just really honing my skill, and then just back in believing myself.
When did you start your visualization?
A bit later on in my career, probably. I think it was more over here. Yeah,
Too cold to
I don't
train.
know exactly when I started. Yeah, it wasn't like it's something I just learned through. I think I might have read a golf book or something. Like they were talking about visualization and how they do it, and so I just sort of started trying it, and it just sort of, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And it just sort of took, you can actually do a lot of reps in your head than physically doing them on the pitch. And so that sort of probably helped my body as well, not banging away 100 kicks a week. And so, yeah, I always now I run sort of in a kicking academy, so I'm always working with younger kids, and that's one thing I tell them, just start visualizing, and it'll really help you.
Yeah, and speaking of your kicking academy, what made you want to set this up?
I just thought, like, talking to parents and young kids, there's nothing like that over here. There's no one to teach them just the fundamentals of kicking, so they can go out there and just enjoy themselves. It's not that they're going to be a professional kicker or whatever, it's just so they can get the skill and to be able to go out on a Saturday or Sunday whenever they play, and just to be able to do the skill to their best ability, and to enjoy it was sort of the leading factor. But yeah, I really enjoyed just seeing the kids, like, within 10 minutes you can change someone's perspective on how they kick, and they got a big smile and just enjoying it. So it's been pretty cool. Daylight savings has started here, so I'm pretty busy on trying to fit people in at night time. Luckily we've got long days over here, so it's good fun.
And the Jimmy G tees, was that off the back of the kicking academy?
Nah, mate, so crazy story about that. So obviously everyone knows the Spippkin Tee. So obviously Mertz used it, Tony Brown, all these guys used it back in New Zealand through the time. And George Simpkin designed this tee. When did he bring it out? I can't remember the exact day, but it was one of the first ever kicking tees in the world. He brought it out, and David Holwell used to use it. He modified it a bit, cut it and made it a little bit taller. But I had to change when I went to Wellington, mate, because I used to kick off a normal cone, like just the average cone.
Yeah.
And I went down to Wellington, and the thing just blow off like all the time because it's so bloody windy. So I seen Mertz and Tony Brown and these guys using the tee. So I was like, I'll grab that, and I've used it ever since. And just before our first ever lockdown over here, I just got a message on Facebook from this guy called George Simpkin. I was looking at it going, George Simpkin, like, surely that can't be the Simpkin. Just saying, look, I've followed your career. I'd love to have a chat with you. Give us, here's my number. If you want to have a chat, come have a chat. I think it will benefit you. So I was quite intrigued. Like, who's this George Simpkin wants to have a chat? So why not have a chat? So anyway, I give him a ring, and what a guy. Some of his stories from rugby, he's done so much in the rugby community, and long story short, he said, look, I've only got a few months to live, and I've always watched your career. I love how you kick, and you're still using my tee. I would love to give you the rights to reproduce my tee under your name. And I was like, really? I was like blown away by it. And so I was like, right, unreal. Like tried to get as much information, had loads of conversations with him, but unfortunately he passed away pretty quickly, and sort of into when I first met him, and then lockdown really took hold in the UK, and it was really hard to like for me to try and get things going with the business and like trying to get the mold and the design and all that kind of stuff. So I never really got it out before he could see it, which was pretty disappointing. But it is here now. Well, there's a few on my table, so you can see the old Jimmy GT.
Jeez, look at that! What a design!
So yeah, but it's like the old Spippkin Tee. Everyone knows the Spippkin Tee. It's the old classic kicking tee. It's got the 2 levels. You can pop it up, and so I've always used this tee my whole career. And for him to say, you can reproduce it under your name, because he stopped producing it in 2010. He said a truck was in China moving it. They might have been moving factories or something, and it like crashed, and they lost all the molds. So he was like, "Oh, bugger it! I've done this for so many years, so I'm just not going to reproduce them." And then here's me over here when I first came over 2009, 2010 season, stressing, going, I can't find any bloody new tees. So I had an old tip top ice cream container that had my tees in it, and like I just secured them in there, man. Like I was looking after them like gold. And it was even like we were playing in Newcastle, and the ball boy was sitting there he was on the sideline going like this, like bending it, like back and forth. And I turned mid game. I stopped what I was doing. I turned around. I felt bad for the kid. I was like, "Oi, you little shit! Like, stop doing that! Don't bend my tee," because I only had a few left. So I was like, they were like precious. So fortunately now I've got, obviously I sell them now on jimmygtees.com, and I got, I got over 1,000 of them in my garage, so I'm not short of a kicking tee at the moment.
Wait, how good's that? What a story that is. And is that sort of your plan after footy, to get more into the kicking coaching and selling the Jimmy GTs?
Yeah, look, at something I'm looking at. I'm looking at designing a bit of a taller tee now at the moment. Yeah. And sort of the similar lines, just because obviously guys like different heights. But it's something, like I enjoy, and I don't know if I come back to New Zealand. I don't know how many people are doing that kind of thing in New Zealand. I'd love to sort of catch up with my old team, and if I can walk around, and my sort of dream job would be cruising around like Taranaki, Hawke's Bay, like going all the provinces, just helping with kicking and like exit plans and skill work, because obviously it's huge over here. So I feel I've learned a lot, and if I can give back some sort of way like that, then it's really good and enjoyable for me as well.
What about professional coaching? Obviously, you've been in the game for 19 years, playing in a pivotal position, obviously understand the game really well in all sides of the world. Was professional coaching, is that something you'd ever want to get into?
Yeah, look, I've been coaching a local team down here for the last 5 years, which is pretty cool. But I also do a lot sort of within the younger guys around the place, sort of with Wasps and stuff. But I think it's a natural progression. It's kind of, everyone tells me I should be doing it, but I think it's just a natural progression. And if it comes my way, then the opportunity comes. Then obviously I'll look into it. But there's loads of sort of things and opportunities. Just if I move back to New Zealand, then you've got to look into opportunities. What opportunities do I have? And I've been playing this game for 19, 20 years now. It's something that I want to give back, and I've got a lot of knowledge. Someone once told me, your knowledge is not for yourself; it's to share. And I think I've seen a lot of teams play and been in a lot of environments and learnt a lot. Hopefully, I can give back, and if that's just going in and helping schools or clubs or whatever, then I'm open to all options.
Love that. So are you looking to, once your career's over in the next 5 or 10 years, are you looking to finish up here in New Zealand? Is this where you think you'll live?
Look, obviously I became a British citizen this year, so which is pretty cool. But now life's been here for the last 13 years. But in saying that, I've missed all my family. I haven't been around my family for so long, and I think the Naki is just an exceptional place to bring kids up, and for just your environment you live in. And so I probably see ourselves moving back to the Naki at some stage, and then again, you just don't know, because you don't know what kind of opportunities come up after rugby and things like that. But it's definitely something we're looking into.
How old are your kids now?
So my daughter will be 14 in July, and the young fella's coming up 9. So she's sort of in that niggly age when he's a not bad little rugby player, the little bugger. He's got some speed. It's not from me, but he's doing all right. Yeah, but my daughter's in that age now. We'd sort of, if we're gonna move back to the Naki, it's probably going to be, you have to be soon because of her age, or we've got to stay here for a little bit longer. But things will work itself out.
No doubt. Well, as always, we've gone to our Instagram for some questions, and man, lots and lots of questions have come in for the UK superstar, the Hurricane legend, and all the rest. First thing was the most popular question. I already sort of touched on it, but all the Naki lads, all the locals wanted to know if you're ever going to play a game for the Coastal.
Oh, mate, I'll definitely play for the Coast, even if it's senior thirds or something. I'll have to have a game. But there's no doubt I'll have to come and put on the strip and run out for sure.
Mate, it could be a backline of Bowden Barrett, Jimmy Gopperth, Geordie Barrett. Could have the whole crew out there.
Oh, mate, let's make it happen, eh? That'd be funny. That'd be good. Be good crowd. Good crowd coming to watch.
Second most common question was about this hit from Jimmy Cowan. Any memories from this hit? I don't remember it personally, but you probably do.
It's all over YouTube, that one. A few of the boys over here always tend to find that one. It was decent. What it made it worse was, like, for him was I was just going to kick, so like my plant foot of my left foot was barely on the ground. So obviously I've got no support, and he smacks me, and then I just get like full whiplash. And I remember one of the boys, I stayed on. I got brought off a little bit after, because one of the boys was like, "Mate, you're calling calls that I've never heard of ever."
True, yeah.
Like, I was just rambling on about some bullshit. So, but that was just because I got a bit of whiplash. But he got me good, mate. It was a good hit for sure.
Was it shoulder to the head?
Nah, it was more like, it was a bit high, but it was more the whiplash, I think, that done because he hit me so hard, and then my sort of head just banged straight off the back of the on the floor. Yeah. And that's probably what gave me a bit of a daze. So
were you knocked out?
I don't know.
That was before the HIA systems obviously came in.
Yeah, mate, it was way before then. So I think, like, it was a definitely a good sort of a good days for sure. Like, if I'm calling calls that if the boys have never heard of, then obviously something went on. But it was more just the whiplash. It hit my head so hard on the back of my head. I was definitely blacked out for a little bit. But yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Is that something that scares you at all? Have you had many concussions throughout your career? Obviously, your good mate at Newcastle, Carl Heyman's come out with some sad news about his dementia. But have you felt like you've got any issues with your head? You sound like you've got a good memory.
Yeah, I have never really had one. Never really had like a proper knockout. I got sort of, this season's been a funny one. Like I got pre-season just training, caught a knee to the head, and just sort of got a bit staggery and sort of just went off on the sideline. I was like, look, I just need a rep. I need a minute, and I could just tell. I was like, I'm just a bit dizzy here. Anyway, I tried to keep it quiet as some of us do, but they got me and had to do an HIA, and I failed. And then it was probably about 4 weeks later, big Mike Williams, who plays for Bath, I was on the jackal and he just lined me up from miles out, man. And next minute I woke up and I had oxygen mask on. That was the first time I've ever been proper knocked out. And yeah, I just remember waking up, oxygen mask on, people all around me, and then just saying to the trainer, I was like, or the physio, I was like, I've been knocked out, haven't I? And he was like, yep. And he was like, you were snoring.
Wow.
So it was a proper, like the old starfish, man. I was gone.
Yeah.
And then they brought the stretcher out, and I was like, nah, like, can I stand up? Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not going off in a stretcher. Stood up and just went straight back down. I was like, yeah, give me that stretcher. I'm dust. And then sat for the rest of the game in the back of the ambulance, and was all right. And then sort of, you go through a protocol, so you got 5-day turnaround, so you do all the protocol, the HIA protocol, and like I passed my first day and with all the words and the memory and stuff, but my balance was a little off. So obviously you keep going through the stages, and it was a pretty big game coming up, and like me being stubborn and not wanting to miss a game ever, I was like, I sort of, in my own words, I probably just was a bit like, wasn't as truthful as I should have been in sort of how I was feeling, because I was at home and I said to my missus, I was like, I feel like shit, like my head just feels a bit shit, I can't really concentrate, but I kept passing all the tests like they were doing with me, like go for a little run, you cycle, everything, like building up. They build you up nicely. But because I wasn't as honest as I should have been with sort of how I was actually feeling, like obviously they didn't know because I was passing all my tests. And it got to the last day where it was like, right, you pass your contact, you hit a few bags and grit into your contact, and then you're good to go for the weekend. And fortunately, the coach said to me, straight up to me, he goes, mate, even if you pass, I'm not going to pick you. Like, that was a pretty bad knockout. I'm not going to pick you. So don't push if you don't want to. And as soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing contact. Like, no way. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I feel shit. And it wasn't till the next week when I actually started feeling good, I was like, shit, I was actually feeling pretty shit. But it's just been an old school, rugby player that thinks, I'll be all right. Which was just stupid. Like, now, I always tell the young kids, like, even a few guys have been KO'd this year, I was like, mate, just take it easy and be honest. Because you've only got one head and you can't muck around with it. But yeah, that was the first time I've been proper knocked out, and it's pretty scary.
Mate, that sounds like a brutal knockout. How long did it take for you to start feeling good? Was it still only 2 weeks before you were back out there feeling good?
Yeah, so I was fortunate, as in we had I think we were playing Quins the end of the week at home. Then we had a week off. So I had a good 2 weeks, probably 2.5 weeks to sort of get myself set and ready to go. So it was a good 2.5 weeks, and it probably was only the last week when I started feeling, well, half a week really. So a good 2 weeks to make me sort of start feeling pretty good.
Right, crazy. Next question. Okay, best player you've played with or against? There, man, you would have played with plenty.
Yeah, I've been asked this question so many times, and you just can't. I can't have an answer. Like, it's just, I've been so fortunate to play with some of the best players in New Zealand. Obviously, you've got Tana, you've got Cully, you've got Ma, Conrad, and then Leinster, Brian O'Driscoll, etc., etc. So, you know, and then even at Wasps, you're playing with guys like Christian Wade and Willie LaRue, Kurtley Beale. Like, there's just too many good players. I'm probably name dropping out my ass right now, but you know, I've been I've been very fortunate to be in some unbelievable teams and learnt so much off so many good players.
Mate, you have played with some legends, eh?
To play against, again, you get to play against all those guys. Probably the guy that I hated playing against, probably Bucky's Boita. I got cleaned out by him a couple times. Him and Skultberger, honestly, like being a 10, they just come after you. I've been hit a couple times and you knew you'd been hit. Like they're some big boys.
Oh, I like that. Okay, next question is from Waterlad's major sponsor, Swish. If you could get a video shout out from any person in the world, who would it be and why?
Awesome. I think Kelly Slater, obviously 11-time world champion surfer, 50 years old, still just absolutely killing it. I've actually, some of my mates are his good mate, one of the pro surfers I used to know, and he's a pretty sound dude, and I just think he's one of those, you know, what other professional athlete in the world is 11-time world champ? There's not many, you know, even Tom Brady's and not 11-time world champ. It's he's a pretty phenomenal athlete and still absolutely killing it in the surf at the moment, 50 years old.
Crazy, like that one. That goes on to the next question about surfing. How many surfboards have you owned?
Have I owned? I think I've got about 7 in the garage at the moment. But I live in the Midlands, mate, so I don't get to surf that often. It's always just surf trips and things. It's slowed up a little bit. Living in Newcastle, living in Ireland was phenomenal. Surfing all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, living in the Midlands, geographically the middle of England, as far as away as you can get to the ocean. It takes me 2 hours 40 for the nearest surf.
True. Just visualization in the garage on your surfboards, is it?
That's the one, mate. I got a lot of cobwebs, a lot of dust.
Okay, next one's also about surfing. Best waves in Taranaki or best waves in France? Where is it?
Taranaki for variation. And I've been a couple of times in France. It's just a lot of beaches, like they're really, really good. But in the Naki, mate, you've got everything. Beaches, point breaks. There's a couple of secret slabs around the place. Big waves, small waves. It's just it's a dream for a surfer to have a coastline like that.
Have you been to any awesome surf spots since you've been over there? Obviously, Europe's just on your doorstep and lots of cool places to travel to. Any favourites?
Portugal's pretty fun. Had quite a few surf trips in Portugal. That was, you know, there's some awesome surf spots up there. One of the weirdest ones, mate, is like a place called Thurso. It's in Scotland. It is literally, when you look at Great Britain, it's as far as you can go north. Like when I lived in Newcastle, it's still a 9-hour drive from Newcastle.
Oh, true.
And you go up there, mate, and it's like literally probably the most inbred place you'll ever meet, ever go. It's so barren. There's nothing around, and just these amazing waves. So when done a surf trip up there, and actually went up with Carl Heyman as well. So we used to go up there for a bit, surf trips, and yeah, it's a pretty special place.
True, that sounds cool. Must have been freezing, was it?
Weirdly, it's cold outside, but like the North Sea down in Newcastle is way colder than up top because get sort of the currents that push over the top from the different sort of seas. So it was cold, like it's still freezing, like but Newcastle would be like 4 or 5 degrees, and up there would be like 9 9 sort of 8, 9. Still cold,
Slightly
mate.
less freezing, yeah. Okay, next one. Tell us about your dive try over the ruck.
Oh, that was against Tonga. I was nearly the most stupid person ever to do that. Because against the Tongan boys, if one of them stood up, he would have cut me in half. Like, I just remember the ball. We're playing for the Junior All Blacks. It was actually at the what do they call it now? It was a bull ring, so I don't know what they call it now. Taranaki Stadium, but
Yarrow.
the Yarrow Stadium. The ball popped out of the ruck and was sort of 5 metres, like, right on the line, and it popped out. And sort of, I can't remember who passed me the ball, but they started running across the pitch, so I just sort of ducked under. They gave me the ball, I just cut back in, and then just seen the ruck and thought, oh, why not, have a go, and just jumped and dove over the top, and luckily no one stood up and managed to score, because as I said, if someone stood up, man, I would have got ended. Like, if
I've
Nili
seen that one
Latu
going
got
wrong
me,
a lot.
yeah, especially if Nili was there. Nili can hit hard, and Nili Latu probably, I think he was playing, he would have smoked me.
Mate, he's another one who's still going too, eh?
Oh, he's a legend, mate.
Okay, next question. Why do they call you SpongeBob?
It's the old square shoulders, mate. So SpongeBob's just built like that. It happened a while back. I can't remember exactly who started it, but soon as I got to Newcastle, the owner gave me a bloody SpongeBob little doll thing. So they all knew it was called SpongeBob. But some of the Wellington boys just end up calling me SpongeBob, and it just stuck, really stuck.
True.
But
Just
it's
from
gone
having
now.
massive shoulders.
But hopefully it's not coming back. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, next one. This will be an interesting one. Ask him about his battle with Luke McAllister on New Zealand schools tour. Most hookups.
Lukey. I used to call him Peebs. He's like pretty boy. I always used to do his hair, and I was from the coast, mate. I was a farm boy. I'd never even heard of like gel, like hair gel, mate. And so he was always like, this has a nice curly hair, and so I'd always just call him Peebs. And so there was it was a pretty special tour. He tried to design, tell me to use all the gel, and that was pretty fun, mate. We've done a bit of damage around there, and really enjoyed ourselves.
Who won it?
Oh, mate. Of course he's going to win it, isn't he? Because I'm a coastal lad, mate. As soon as we go into a bar, I'll go to the bar and sit at the bar. He'll be on the dance floor probably, and I'm just sitting there having a few schoonies.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, next one. Who's one New Zealand player who you'd think would make a great transition into the UK game?
I think if you just look at the Canes guys, I think Artie Savia. I think people would get excited by how he goes. Like, we've got obviously Via Fafita in our team, and I just see they're quite similar in the way they sort of play, and their sort of athletic ability. And when Via gets in open spaces, defence just don't know how to deal with him because he's running around with the ball in one hand and he's quick. So I think Artie he'd sort of excel up here, and defences wouldn't know how to deal with him really. I think he'll do really well.
Mate, I think he could play well anywhere, to be fair, isn't he? He's that good.
Yeah, true.
But you do have an awesome Canes contingent there at Wasps too, don't you? You've got Shieldsy, Via, Jeff Tumunga Allen. You've got all the boys there. How they all been going? Yeah,
good, mate. Yeah, it's really nice to have some some guys from the same club used to play at, even though these boys used to go and watch me sitting in the stand and watch me play with no young kids. They always give me shit about that. But it's good just to share some stories and obviously have close to home, sort of comforts there as well. It's pretty cool. And, we always get together and have a few beers and really enjoy ourselves. It was pretty good.
No doubt Shieldsy's leading you astray.
Always, mate. He's a bad man. He loves his beer. He loves his socials. He's got a company over here as well. So it's social, they call it, him and Josh Bassett. So they're doing like vodka and all that kind of stuff. It's little sort of RTD drinks. They're doing really well. So he's always having a few of them after the games, which is pretty cool.
Mate, that's awesome. Okay, last question. Best piece of advice you've received in your 19-year footy career?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? Obviously, when I said earlier on about with Tana just telling me, it doesn't care who you are, just get in and boss us. But, it's when someone said just enjoy every moment you've got because you never know when this game can finish. And so you got to respect it and cherish it because one day, drop of a hat, you've lost it. I think that's been the sort of most important thing I take every day is just enjoy every single moment you've got because you're very privileged to be in this situation.
Mate, love that. What a way to finish. I knew 19 years would come into one unreal piece of advice. Love that.
Cheers, mate.
But mate, really appreciate you, Ben, coming on the podcast. Like I said at the start, massive fan of yours when I was growing up, leading that Canes side around, and then to see you still go on and do what you've done over in the UK and still playing at the level you are, and plenty more years left to go, mate. It's been pretty inspirational to watch, and been awesome having you on and sharing your journey.
Cheers for having me on, mate. It's always good to have a yarn and. It's good to see what you're doing here with What a Lad. So big ups to you, and no doubt we'll catch up when we're home, have a beer or two.
No doubt. You're a lad. Appreciate it, mate.